Look into my eyes like a window. Wherever it takes me, I will know. In spite of all the days.
Much has been written of the relationship between Paul McCartney and John Lennon, the two dominant frontmen of the Beatles. Never media shy, always competitive, and undoubtedly the finest songwriting partnership the world will ever know. But little has ever been written about the comparison of the lives of John Lennon and George Harrison. Two men united with their place in rock and pop history, two men who followed their individual political and spiritual paths, and two men whose lives were cut tragically short. John Lennon and George Harrison were two guitars gently weeping.
George realised what he was up against with both John and Paul, and also me to a certain extent, because I must confess that I would obviously concentrate on the guys who were giving me the hits.
John Lennon made a stand. He loved America. He believed in self-expression. And the greatest tragedy really was his death.
I think George Harrison kept them together. He was the quiet one, but the calm one.
There are various stories about how the Beatles first met. Probably the best known of these is that in 1957, Paul McCartney, wandering by a fair at St. Peter's Parish Church Hall in Woolton, Liverpool, stopped to listen to a skiffle band called the Quarrymen, fronted by a young John Lennon. Paul just happened to have his guitar with him, so he stepped right up on the stage and joined in. George was a friend of Paul's, who was introduced to the lineup in 1958. After a flurry of name changes and lineups, the group settled with the name The Beatles, and the definitive lineup of John Lennon, Paul McCartney, George Harrison, and Ringo Starr, led by their manager, Brian Epstein. After spending a frantic residency in Hamburg, where they learnt their craft and perfected their image, the Beatles returned to their hometown of Liverpool to spearhead the newly developed beat group scene, which was spiralling forward from the lowly Cavern Club to conquer the world.